He thought he was the predator. He thought she was just the help. Victor Calloway, a man worth $3 billion, decided to humiliate a waitress in front of his Wall Street friends by asking for her stock tips. It was supposed to be the punchline to a cruel joke. But when she glanced at his phone and whispered 7 words about a hidden offshore account, the laughter didn't just stop, it died. Because Selena wasn't just a waitress. She was the only person in the room who knew that by sunrise, Victor Calloway wouldn't be a billionaire anymore. This is the story of the waitress who shorted the devil. The air inside the Gilded Talon smelled of truffle oil aged mahogany and the specific metallic scent of old money. It was the kind of steakhouse where the menu didn't list prices because if you had to ask, you were already trespassing. Victor Calloway swirled the amber liquid in his crystal glass, watching the light catch the 20-year-old Scotch. He was 42, handsome, in a way that suggested he paid a lot of money to look effortless, and currently he was the king of New York. "I'm telling you it's a lock," Victor said, his voice carrying just loud enough for the neighboring tables to hear. "Triton Heavy Industries. We acquire the lithium mines in Nevada. The stock jumps 40% by Friday, and we dump the bag on the retail investors before lunch." Sitting across from him was Brad Halloway, a man who had ridden Victor's coattails since their days at Wharton. Brad laughed, a sharp, barking sound that lacked genuine mirth. "You're a savage, Vic. Truly. What's the buy-in? For you, $5 million. Victor grinned. "Consider it a favor." Victor felt invincible. His hedge fund, Calloway Capital, had just posted its 4th consecutive quarter of triple-digit returns. He was untouchable. He was a god among men, and gods he believed were allowed to play with their food. He glanced up as a shadow fell across the table. It was the waitress. She was holding a heavy tray of oysters and champagne. She was small with dark hair, pulled back into a severe practical bun. Her uniform was crisp, her face blank and professional. She looked tired. Not just physical exhaustion, but a deep, bone-weary fatigue that settled in the eyes. "Your oysters, Mr. Calloway," she said softly. Her voice was unremarkable. Victor watched her place the plates down with practiced precision. He felt a sudden, malicious urge to puncture the boredom of the evening. He wanted to flex his power to contrast his brilliance against the mundane existence of the working class. "Hold on a second," Victor said, raising a hand to stop her from leaving. She paused, clutching the empty tray against her chest like a shield. "Yes, sir. Is something wrong with the order?" "No, the oysters are fine," Victor said, leaning back and unbuttoning his suit jacket. He winked at Brad. "Actually, my friend and I were having a debate. We're about to move a significant amount of capital, like more money than this entire building is worth, and I wanted let's call it a ground-level perspective." Brad snickered, covering his mouth with a napkin. The waitress stood perfectly still. "I'm not sure I understand, sir." "It's simple," Victor said, his voice dripping with condescension. "If you had $10 million right now, where would you put it? Crypto gold? Or maybe you'd put it all under your mattress." He looked at her, expecting a flush of embarrassment, a stuttered apology, or a naive suggestion about a tech stock she heard about on the news. The waitress looked at him. For the first time, she actually made eye contact. Her eyes were a startling icy gray. They didn't look submissive. They looked analytical. "I'm just a waitress, sir," she said. "I wouldn't want to interrupt your dinner." "Oh, come on," Victor pressed, enjoying the game. He pulled a $100 bill from his money clip and slapped it on the white tablecloth. "Consultation fee. Humor me." "What's your name?" "Selena," she said. "Selena. Okay, Selina, impress me. Where is the smart money going? Selina looked at the $100 bill, then up at Victor. She didn't reach for the money. She shifted her weight slightly, and her posture changed. The slump of the tired server vanished, replaced by a rigid, terrifying confidence. She glanced at the Bloomberg terminal notification flashing on Victor's phone, which was sitting face up on the table. It showed the ticker for TRTN, Triton Heavy Industries. "You're buying, Triton," Selina said. It wasn't a question. Victor raised an eyebrow. "I am. Very observant." "Because of the Nevada lithium deal," she continued. "You think they've secured the drilling rights." "We know they have," Brad interjected, trying to regain control of the conversation. "It's a done deal." Selina let out a breath, a sound that was almost a laugh. "Sir, if I were you, I wouldn't buy Triton. I would short it. I would short it with every cent of leverage your prime broker will allow." The silence at the table was instant. The ambient noise of the restaurant seemed to fade away. Victor's smile faltered. "Excuse me, Triton doesn't have the drilling rights," Selina said, her voice low and rapid fire. "The CEO, Jonathan Vargas, has been falsifying the geological surveys. He's been using a shell company called Red Creek LLC to pay off local inspectors, but he missed a payment 3 days ago. The EPA is raiding their headquarters tomorrow morning at 8:00 a.m. Eastern. The stock isn't going to jump 40%, Mr. Calloway. It's going to 0. Victor stared at her. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Brad looked between them, confused. "What is she talking about? Who is Red Creek?" Selina wasn't finished. She leaned in slightly, her voice dropping to a whisper that felt like a blade against Victor's throat. "Furthermore, you're leveraged 4-to-1 on this trade using a swap agreement with Goldman Sachs. If Triton drops below $12 a share, you face a margin call that will liquidate your entire portfolio. You're not just risking the profit, Mr. Calloway. You're risking the firm." She straightened up her face, returning to the blank mask of a server. "But I'm just a waitress," she said. "I'd probably just put it under my mattress." She turned and walked away, disappearing into the bustle of the kitchen. Victor sat frozen. The ice in his scotch had melted. "She's crazy," Brad said, laughing nervously. "She's just spouting nonsense. Red Creek EPA raids. She probably read some conspiracy theory on Reddit." Victor. Victor wasn't listening. His heart was hammering against his ribs. It wasn't just what she said. It was the specificity. Red Creek LLC. He knew that name. He had seen it in the footnotes of the due diligence report, buried on page 400, listed as a consulting partner. He had dismissed it as irrelevant overhead. How did a waitress at a steakhouse know about a shell company buried in a confidential merger document? "Get the car," Victor said, snatching his phone. "What? We haven't eaten." "Get the damn car, Brad," Victor roared, causing heads to turn across the restaurant. He dialed his head analyst as he sprinted toward the exit. "Johnson, wake up! I don't care what time it is. Get me everything we have on Triton's environmental compliance. Specifically look for a vendor payment dispute involving a company called Red Creek. Do it now." Victor burst out into the cool night air of Manhattan, his breath coming in short gasps. He looked back through the window of the Gilded Talon. He could see the kitchen doors swinging. He didn't know who Selina was, but as the cold dread settled in his stomach, he realized one thing. The joke was over. The drive back to the Calloway Capital offices in Midtown was a blur of red taillights and panic. Victor sat in the back of his Maybach, his laptop open, refreshing the pre-market indicators for the Asian exchanges. Triton was holding steady. For now. "You're overreacting," Brad said from the seat next to him. "Vic, think about it. She's a waitress. If she knew anything real, she wouldn't be serving oysters." "She knew about the swap agreement, Brad," Victor snapped without looking up. "Only 3 people know the terms of that leverage. Me, my CFO, and the rep at Goldman. How the hell did she know the strike price for the margin call? Maybe she overheard you." "You have a loud voice. I never discuss strike prices in public. Never." Victor's phone buzzed. It was Johnson, his lead analyst. "Talk to me," Victor said, answering on the first ring. "Mr. Calloway, it's weird." Johnson sounded shaken. "I can't find anything on Red Creek in the official channels, but I dug into some local county court filings in Nevada like you asked. There's a sealed docket filed yesterday afternoon. The plaintiff is the Environmental Protection Agency." Victor felt the blood drain from his face. "Is Triton named?" "I can't see the defendant, it's sealed, but the filing location is the exact county where Triton's mine is supposed to be." Victor hung up. The waitress was right. He burst into his office on the 40th floor. The trading floor was empty, bathed in the blue glow of standby monitors. He ran to his terminal and began typing furiously. He had to unwind the position. If he sold now in the dark pools, he could get out with a minor loss. Maybe 20 million. He could survive 20 million. But if he waited until the market opened and the news broke, he was dead. He keyed in the sell order for the entire block of Triton shares. His finger hovered over the execute button. What if she's wrong? The thought paralyzed him. If he sold now and the raid didn't happen, he would lose the potential billion-dollar profit. He would look like a coward who folded because of a rumor. His reputation would be tattered. He needed to know who she was. "Get me security at the Gilded Talon." Victor barked at his personal assistant, who had just run in looking disheveled in her pajamas. "Sir, call the restaurant. I want the personnel file on the waitress named Selena. Now." 10 minutes later, the phone rang. It was the manager of the restaurant, sounding terrified to be speaking to Victor Calloway. "Mr. Calloway, I'm so sorry if the service was lacking. We can—" "Shut up!" Victor hissed. "Tell me about Selena, the waitress in the West section. Who is she?" Selena Clark." The manager paused. She's new. She started 3 months ago. Very quiet. Excellent references, though." "References from where?" "Let me check her file. Here it is. Previous employment. Housekeeping staff at the Pierre Hotel. Before that, a diner in New Jersey." Victor frowned. Housekeeping. A diner. It didn't make sense. A housekeeper doesn't know how to analyze a derivative swap. "Is there anything else?" Victor asked. "Well, there is one odd thing," the manager noted. "She refused direct deposit, asked to be paid in cash or physical check, said she didn't have a bank account." "No bank account," Victor repeated. "In 2024. And, oh, this is strange. Her emergency contact. It's a law firm." "Which firm?" "Kravitz and Moore." Victor froze. Kravitz and Moore wasn't just a law firm. It was the law firm for white-collar criminal defense. They represented the biggest wolves on Wall Street when the feds came knocking. They charged $2,000 an hour. Why would a waitress with no bank account have a high-powered criminal defense firm as her emergency contact? "Thank you," Victor said, and hung up. He looked at the clock. 4:00 a.m. 4 hours until the market opened. 4 hours until the EPA raid, if Selena was telling the truth. He looked at the execute button again. He couldn't do it. Greed, that ancient heavy anchor, held his finger back. He needed confirmation. He needed to see her again. "Brad," Victor said, turning to his friend, who was passed out on the office sofa. "Wake up, we're going back." "Back where?" Brad groaned. "To her apartment. I had the private investigator run her plates from the staff parking lot footage while we were driving. We're going to Queens." Selina Clark lived in a dilapidated brownstone in Astoria, nestled between a laundromat and a bodega that sold expired milk. It was a far cry from the penthouses Victor was used to. The black Maybach rolled down the narrow street, looking like a spaceship that had landed in the wrong century. Victor got out, flanked by his head of security, a massive man named Graves. He told Brad to stay in the car. They walked up the crumbling steps. There was no doorman, just a row of rusted buzzers. Victor pressed the one labeled 3B. No answer. He pressed it again. Long and hard. Finally, the intercom crackled. "Go away." "Selina," Victor said into the speaker. "It's Victor Calloway. Open the door." "I'm off the clock, Mr. Calloway. The restaurant opens at 5. "I'm not here for steak. I'm here about Triton. You're going to let me in, or I'm going to have my lawyers subpoena you so hard you'll be buried in paperwork until you're 80. Silence. Then a loud buzz. The door clicked unlock. Victor and Graves ascended the stairs. The hallway smelled of boiled cabbage and old cigarettes. When they reached 3B, the door was already ajar. Selina was standing in the middle of the room. She had changed out of her uniform into oversized sweatpants and a faded T-shirt that said MIT Athletics. The apartment was shocking. It wasn't the furniture, there was barely any. It was the walls. Every inch of the living room wall was covered in charts. Printouts of stock tickers, newspaper clippings, red string connecting corporate logos, and handwritten notes in complex mathematical shorthand. It looked like the inside of a serial killer's mind, or a genius's. On the small dining table, 3 laptops were humming, running what looked like high-frequency trading algorithms on a Linux interface. Victor stepped in his eyes, scanning the room. "What is this?" Selina crossed her arms. "It's a hobby. Some people knit." Victor walked over to the wall. He pointed to a chart labeled Project Icarus. It detailed the entire corporate structure of Calloway Capital Victor's own firm. She had mapped out his leverage, his exposure, his hidden partners. She knew his business better than he did. "Who are you?" Victor asked, his voice quiet. "You're not Selina Clark from New Jersey." She sighed, walking over to a small kitchenette to pour herself a glass of water. "My name is Selina, and I did work in a diner in Jersey. But before that, I had a different life." "What life?" "Does the name Arthur Pendleton mean anything to you?" she asked. Victor frowned. "Pendleton, the Oracle of Boston. He ran the Sovereign Fund. He jumped off a bridge 5 years ago after losing $10 billion in a Ponzi scheme." "He didn't jump," Selina said, her voice devoid of emotion. "And it wasn't a Ponzi scheme. He was framed. He was set up by a consortium of rival banks who wanted his proprietary algorithm. They cooked his books, destroyed his reputation, and then they silenced him." She took a sip of water. "Arthur Pendleton was my father." Victor stared at her. The resemblance was there, the sharp nose, the intense, calculating eyes. Arthur Pendleton had been a legend, a math prodigy who claimed to have solved the market. "I was his head quant," Selina continued. "I wrote the code that they killed him for. When he died, they came for me. I wiped my identity, changed my name, and went underground. I've been waiting, Victor, watching. collecting data. Waiting for what? For a mistake, she said. For the people who killed him to get greedy. Victor looked around the room again. This wasn't just a hobby. This was a war room. Why tell me about Triton? Victor asked. Why save me if I lose everything? I'm just another casualty. Selina walked up to him. She was small, but in this room amidst her data, she loomed larger than him. Because Mr. Calloway, the man who is selling you Triton, Jonathan Vargas, is one of the men who destroyed my father. He's using you. He needs you to hold the bag when the EPA hits so he can cash out and disappear. She pointed a finger at his chest. I didn't tell you to save you. I told you because I need you to help me destroy him. Victor's phone buzzed again. It was a text from Johnson. Update. We just got a drone shot of the Triton HQ. Federal SUVs are lining up down the block. It's happening. Victor looked at the text, then at Selina. The market opened in 2 hours. Okay, Victor said, the adrenaline surging through his veins. You have my attention. What's the play? Selina smiled, and for the first time it looked dangerous. We don't just sell, she said. We reverse the position. But we have to do it in a way they won't see coming. We're going to trigger a liquidity trap. But I need your trading floor to do it. My trading floor? I need access to your mainframe, Victor. I need the speed of your execution algorithms. If we do this from my laptops, they'll trace it. If we do it from Calloway Capital, it just looks like you panic selling. Victor hesitated, giving a stranger a waitress, the daughter of a disgraced genius. Access to his firm's central nervous system was insanity. It was suicide. But if he didn't, he was bankrupt by noon. Get your coat, Victor said, and bring the laptops. The elevator ride to the 40th floor was silent, thick with a tension that felt like static electricity. Victor stood watching the digital floor numbers climb his reflection in the polished brass doors, looking paler than usual. Beside him, Selina clutched her battered laptop case like it contained nuclear codes. Brad was in the corner, frantically scrolling through Twitter on his phone, muttering about sentiment analysis. When the doors slid open, the trading floor of Calloway Capital was no longer the ghost town it had been an hour ago. The sun was rising over the East River, casting long blood-orange shadows across the rows of monitors. The junior analysts had arrived, a sea of blue shirts and caffeine jitters, preparing for the opening bell. The room went dead silent as Victor marched in, followed not by a banking executive, but by a woman in oversized sweatpants and a frayed t-shirt. "Johnson," Victor roared. "Clear the center desk. Everyone else headsets on, eyes forward. If I see a single phone out recording this, you're fired before you hit the ground floor." Johnson, a man with a receding hairline and an ulcer he treated with constant antacids, hurried over. He looked at Selina with open disdain. "Mr. Calloway, the pre-market, is volatile. We have exposure on the Triton position. Why is she here? She's driving," Victor said, gesturing to the main terminal, the seat usually reserved for the head of quantitative strategy. Johnson's jaw dropped. "Sir, that terminal has direct access to the Level 3 data feeds and the omnibus account. You can't let a civilian—" "Step aside, Johnson," Selina said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room. She didn't wait for permission. She walked past him, dropped her bag, and sat in the leather ergonomic chair. She plugged a USB drive into the secure port. "Security breach." A dazzling red warning popped up on the main wall screen. "Unauthor." Selina's fingers flew across the mechanical keyboard. The clack, clack, clack was a machine gun rhythm. Within 10 seconds, the red warning vanished, replaced by a streaming cascade of green code. "Firewall bypassed," Selina muttered. "Your encryption is dated Victor. You're using SHA-256. "That's cute." She looked up at the stunned room. "Okay. Listen to me." She addressed the floor. "Jonathan Vargas and his algos are watching the order book. If we just dump Victor's shares now, Vargas will trigger a circuit breaker, halt the stock, and trap us in the position while the EPA news hits. We'll be slaughtered." "So what's the plan?" Victor asked, leaning over her shoulder. "We don't sell," Selina said. "We buy." A collective gasp went through the room. Johnson looked like he was going to have a stroke. "Buy the company as a fraud. The stock is going to zero." "Exactly," Selina said, her eyes glued to the screen. "Vargas is arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. If he sees a massive buy order come in right at the open, he won't think trap. He'll think leak. He'll think we know something good. He'll think the lithium deal is approved." She pulled up a complex diagram of Triton's ownership structure. "Vargas is holding 40% of his own stock through offshore accounts to inflate the price. If we buy aggressively for the first 5 minutes, we drive the price up. Vargas will get greedy. He'll release his reserves to sell into our rally to maximize his exit. He'll empty his war chest." Selina turned to Victor, her grey eyes burning. "We lure him out into the open water. We make him commit his liquidity, and the millisecond he dumps his shares to cash out, we pull the bid." "The rug pull," Victor whispered. "A rug pull on $1 billion scale," Selina corrected. "We pull our buy orders and simultaneously we short 200% of the float. The price won't just fall, it will vacuum. He won't be able to sell because there will be no buyers. He'll be holding worthless paper while we ride the slide all the way down." She paused. "But it requires timing. If we are 1 second off the EPA news breaks before we short and we lose the entry. If we are too early, Vargas smells a rat." Victor looked at the clock. 9:15 a.m. 15 minutes to the bell. He looked at his team. They were terrified. They were looking at him to stop the madness. This was career suicide. This was financial heresy. He looked at Selina. He saw the same intensity he had seen in the mirror 20 years ago before the yachts and the cynicism. He saw the hunger. "Do it," Victor said. "Sir," Johnson squeaked. "You heard her," Victor shouted, slamming his hand on the desk. "Give her full authorization. Override the risk parameters. Route all orders through the Archipelago Exchange to mask the source. Today we don't follow the market. We break it." Selina cracked her knuckles. "Johnson, I need you to monitor the newswire. Specifically look for any movement in Carson City, Nevada. Brad, get me coffee. Black. 6 sugars." "I don't fetch coffee," Brad scoffed. Selina didn't look up. "Do you want to be poor, Brad?" Brad blinked, looked at Victor's stone face and ran toward the break room. 1 minute to open," Selina announced. The room fell into a hush. The only sound was the hum of the servers and the heavy breathing of 30 traders. On the main screen, the ticker TRTN hovered at $42.50. "Orders queued," Selina said. "Buying 500,000 shares at market. Algorithm Trojan is active." 3, 2, 1. The opening bell rang out from the television screens, tuned to CNBC. "Mark," Selina whispered. She hit enter. The market exploded. Usually, a stock moves in fractions of a cent. TRTN moved in dollars. Order filled, a junior trader shouted. We're buying, price is pushing 40 falls. $45. Resistance at $46, another shouted. Smash it, Selina commanded, her fingers blurring. Buying another block. 200,000 shares. Paint the tape. The green candle on the chart shot upward like a skyscraper. The sudden influx of volume from Callaway Capital triggered momentum algorithms across Wall Street. Day traders seeing the spike jumped on the bandwagon. The fear of missing out kicked in. TAR-TN, 48,050. Vargas is taking the bait, Selina said, her voice tight. Look at the level 2 data. Massive sell walls are appearing at $50. That's him. He's offloading his offshore shares. He's selling into our buying, Victor said, sweat beading on his forehead. We're giving him cash for garbage stock. Selina, we're down $10 million in realized losses right now. Wait, she said. Let him feel safe. Let him think he's won. TRTN, $5,100. 20 million loss, Johnson chanted, his face grey. Sir Compliance is pinging us. This looks like market manipulation. Ignore them, Victor snapped. Come on, Jonathan, Selina whispered to the screen. Get greedy. Empty the clip. Suddenly the sell orders intensified. A massive block of stock, 2 million shares, appeared on the offer line. It was Vargas. He was dumping everything he had, trying to cash out at the peak before the EPA raid became public knowledge. There it is, Selina said. The whale. Newswire, Johnson screamed. Flash alert, EPA agents spotted entering Triton Heavy Industries HQ in Nevada. Confirmed via Twitter sources. Now, Selina yelled. She slammed a macro key she had programmed specifically for this moment. Command, cancel all buys. Command, initiate short sell. Max leverage. The effect was instantaneous and violent. Callaway Capital's support vanished. The buying pressure that was propping up the price disappeared in a microsecond. Simultaneously, Selina dumped a massive short order onto the market. Vargas's 2 million shares, which he was trying to sell at $51, suddenly had no buyers. The price free fell. 51 hond. 42 hond. 35 hond. It wasn't a decline, it was a crash, a vertical red line on the chart. Holy mother, Brad breathed, holding a tray of spilling coffee. He's trapped, Selina said, her eyes widening. He can't get it out. The bid is gone. TRTN, 28 hond. We're in the money, Johnson shouted. Unrealized gains crossing 50 million. Not yet, Selina said. He's going to fight back. Suddenly the chart froze. The numbers stopped moving. What happened? Victor asked. Did the exchange halt the stock? No, Selina said, typing furiously. It's not the exchange, it's us. My orders aren't going through. She pulled up the terminal command line. Error connection refused. Gateway timeout. He's hitting us, Selina said. Vargas isn't just a CEO. He has a cybersecurity team. They've realized it's Callaway Capital. They're DDoSing our gateway. They're jamming our connection to the exchange. Can we fix it? Victor yelled. I'm locked out, Selina said, panic edging into her voice. If we can't close the short position and the stock bounces on a dead cat bounce, we lose everything. He's trying to force a squeeze. On the screen, the price flickered. $3,000. $3,200. Vargas was using his remaining capital to artificially pump the price back up, while Callaway was blind. He's counterattacking, Victor realized. He's trying to blow up our margin. Selina stared at the error message. Her breathing became shallow. For a second, She wasn't in a Manhattan high-rise. She was back in her father's study, watching him weep as his screens went black, locked out by the same banks that destroyed him. The trauma of that night, the helplessness washed over her. I can't do it. I'm just a waitress. I'm just... Selina. Victor grabbed her shoulders. Snap out of it. You said you wanted to destroy him. Well, he's at the gate. What would Arthur Pendleton do? The name of her father acted like a slap. Her eyes snapped into focus. Arthur wouldn't use the gateway, she whispered. She spun her chair around. Johnson, where is the hard line, the old copper wire backup line for the fax machines? The fax line, Johnson stammered. It's in the server room, but it's analog. It's too slow for HFT. I don't need speed anymore, Selina said, grabbing her laptop. I need a tunnel he can't see. Vargas is jamming the fiber optics. He's not looking for a dial-up connection. She sprinted across the trading floor, Victor close behind her. They burst into the server room, a freezing cold locker of humming black towers. Selina found the phone jack on the wall. She ripped the cord out of the dust-covered fax machine and jammed it into a dongle on her laptop. It's going to take 10 seconds to handshake, Selina said. The screeching sound of a dial-up modem filled the room, a ghost of the 1990s. Come on, Victor urged. Price is back up to $38. We're losing the advantage. Connected, Selina said. She wasn't using the fancy trading interface anymore. She was in the raw code, sending text-based commands directly to the NYSE server via a protocol that hadn't been used in a decade. Sending the kill shot, she muttered. She executed a final algorithm iceberg order. It broke the massive short position into thousands of tiny invisible chunks, slipping them past Vargas's detection bots and flooding the market from 1,000 different angles. Back on the trading floor, the screens came alive. TRTN, $3,800. $2,200. $1,500. The pump failed. Vargas's defense crumbled under the weight of the analog assault. Breaking news, the TV blared. CEO of Triton Heavy Industries, Jonathan Vargas, seen being escorted out of headquarters in handcuffs. Fraud allegations confirmed. That was the nail in the coffin. TRTN, $800. $400. Dull 20 trassos. Selina slumped against the server rack, the adrenaline crashing out of her system. Victor looked at the laptop screen. The profit-loss column was a string of green numbers, so long he had to count the commas. 140 million, Victor whispered, in 20 minutes. He looked down at Selina. She was trembling. He sat down on the cold floor next to her. The billionaire and the waitress surrounded by blinking lights. You did it, Victor said. You got him. Selina closed her eyes. He's not just broke, Victor. He's in debt to the cartel that funded his leverage. He's finished. Suddenly, Victor's phone rang. It wasn't his business line. It was his private encrypted cell, the number only 5 people had. He frowned and answered it. Calloway, he said. The voice on the other end was distorted, low, and mechanical. Mr. Calloway, you seem to have stumbled into a game you don't understand. Victor stiffened. Who is this? You took a lot of money from us today, the voice said. Triton was just one asset in our portfolio. We don't like it when the help interferes with business. Victor looked at Selina. And tell Miss Pendleton, the voice continued, chilling Victor to the bone, that her father screams hello. The line went dead. Victor slowly lowered the phone. The jubilation of the win evaporated instantly. What? Selina asked, seeing his face. What is it? They know. Victor said, his voice hollow. "They know who you are, and they claim your father is alive." Selina stopped breathing. The silence in the server room was heavier than the noise of the trading floor had ever been. The blinking green lights of the server towers seemed to mock them. Victor stared at his phone, as if it were a venomous snake. "My father," Selina whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the cooling fans. "They said he screams hello. That means torture." Victor pocketed the phone, his face hardening into a mask of cold determination. He turned to Graves, his head of security, who was standing by the door with a hand inside his jacket. "Graves, we have a situation. Code Black. We need to move." Graves didn't ask questions. "The chopper is on the roof, sir. But if they have your private line, they likely have eyes on the building. The roof might be a kill box." "Freight elevator," Victor commanded. "Basement loading dock. We take the armored SUV. Selina grab the drives. Wipe the laptops." Selina moved robotically, her hands trembling as she yanked the hard drives from the machines. She was no longer the confident quant who had just crashed a stock. She was a terrified daughter. They moved through the back corridors of the building, avoiding the main lobby. The adrenaline from the trade was gone, replaced by the primal fear of the hunted. As they burst out onto the loading dock, the grey light of a New York morning greeted them. The armored Cadillac Escalade was waiting, engine idling. "Get in." Victor shoved Selina into the back seat and dove in after her. Graves jumped into the driver's seat. "Where to, sir?" "The safe house," Victor said. "The brownstone in Brooklyn, off the books." As the heavy SUV peeled out into traffic, Selina stared out the window. "Who are they, Victor?" "The people who called." Victor poured a drink from the car's decanter, his hands shaking slightly. "We call them the Consortium. I thought they were a myth, a campfire story for junior analysts. They say it's a group of the oldest money in the world banking families that predate the Federal Reserve. They don't play the market, Selina. They own the casino. And they have my father. If Arthur Pendleton is alive," Victor said, "it's because he has something they need. They don't keep pets." Suddenly the car swerved violently. "Contact!" Graves yelled. A black sedan had rammed their rear bumper. Another pulled up alongside them, the window rolling down. A man in a ski mask leaned out, holding a suppressed submachine gun. "Get down!" Victor roared, tackling Selina onto the floorboards. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Bullets hammered against the bulletproof glass, spiderwebbing the reinforced window, but not penetrating. Graves slammed the brakes, causing the attacking sedan to overshoot, then floored the gas clipping the enemy car and sending it spinning into a parked delivery truck. "They're trying to box us in," Graves shouted, swerving through traffic on Fifth Avenue. "Selina!" Victor yelled over the roar of the engine. "The call." The voice on the phone. "Did you record it?" Selina was curled in a ball, clutching her laptop bag. "My phone. It automatically records unknown numbers, an old habit. Play it. Analyze it. Now we're being shot at. Do it. We need leverage." Selina scrambled up, plugging her phone into her laptop. Her fingers danced across the trackpad as the car lurched around a corner, tires screeching. She pulled up the audio file of the distorted voice. "Tell Miss Pendleton that her father screams, 'Hello.' It's masked," Selina said, her eyes glued to the waveform. "Digital distortion, voice modulation software." "Strip it," Victor ordered. "You're a genius, right? Unmask the bastard." "I need a sample to compare it to. I need a key." "Look at the background noise," Victor shouted as another bullet pinged off the chassis. There's always background noise. Selina isolated the frequency behind the voice. She cranked the volume. Beneath the mechanical distortion there was a faint, rhythmic thumping sound. Thump whir. Thump whir. It sounds like a press, Selina said. Industrial machinery. No, Victor said, listening closely. It's too regular, too clean. Selina filtered the audio again. Wait, it's not a machine, it's a clock. A very large mechanical clock. She typed furiously, cross-referencing the acoustic signature. It's a Big Ben chime. No, the resonance is different. It's the clock of the nations. Victor froze. The clock of the nations. That's in the atrium of the old Maritime Bank building in the financial district. The building has been abandoned for 10 years. That's where they are, Selina realized. That's where they're keeping him. Graves, Victor shouted. Change of plans, we're not going to Brooklyn. Sir, go to the financial district, the old Maritime building. We're going on the offensive. Victor, that's suicide, Selina said. We have one guard. They have an army. Victor looked at her. For the first time, the arrogance was completely gone. In its place was a reckless, desperate courage. We don't need guns, Selina. We have something better. We have the one thing they want more than your father. What? We have the money, Victor said. We have the $140 million we just stole from their front man, and I'm going to use it to buy an entrance. The Maritime Bank building was a fortress of grey stone, a relic of the 1920s, looming over the narrow streets of downtown Manhattan. It was supposed to be empty, awaiting renovation. Victor's SUV skidded to a halt in front of the chained bronze doors. Keep the engine running, Victor told Graves. If we aren't back in 20 minutes, burn the building down. Victor straightened his tie, grabbed his briefcase, which now contained a single laptop, and looked at Selina. Walk tall. You own the place. Remember, money is a language. If you speak it fluently, doors open. They approached the side service entrance. A camera swiveled to face them. Victor held up his phone to the lens. On the screen was a live transfer authorization for $140 million. Tell your boss I'm here to negotiate a refund, Victor said to the camera. A moment later, the heavy steel door clicked and swung open. They walked into the dark belly of the building. It didn't look like a bank anymore. The lobby had been stripped, filled with rows of high-end servers and satellite uplinks. It was a shadow exchange, a place where illegal trades were washed before hitting the public market. In the center of the room, under the massive dust-moted light of the atrium, sat a single chair. And in the chair, tied with zip ties, was an old man. Dad! Selina screamed, running forward. Selina, stop! Victor grabbed her arm. From the shadows of the mezzanine, a slow clap echoed. A man stepped into the light. He was elderly, dressed in a suit that cost more than Victor's car. He leaned on a cane topped with silver. Victor recognized him instantly. It was Theodore Prescott, the chairman of the Federal Banking Oversight Committee. A man who was supposed to be the regulator, not the criminal. Victor Calloway. Prescott smiled, his voice raspy. And the prodigal daughter. I must admit the stunt with Triton was inspired. Crude, but inspired. Let him go, Selina demanded, struggling against Victor's grip. Her father, Arthur Pendleton, looked frail. His hair was white, his face gaunt, but his eyes were alert. Selina, Arthur croaked. Get out of here. The algorithm. You can't let them have it. Ah, yes. The algorithm, Prescott said, descending the marble stairs. Your father, Selina, is stubborn. We've had him for 5 years, and he still refuses to correct the error in his code. The God Code. It predicts market crashes with 99% accuracy. We want to use it to steer the global economy, to ensure stability for us." "You mean to rig the game?" Victor spat. "The game is already rigged, dear boy. We just want to own the dice." Prescott signaled to two guards who stepped out of the shadows, aiming rifles at them. "Now, you have cost us a great deal of liquidity today. Transfer the Triton profits back to our account and hand over the laptop. Perhaps I will let you live." Victor stepped forward, placing the briefcase on a rusted table. "I can do better than that," Victor said. "I can give you the money, or I can give you the world." Prescott raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "Selina isn't just a coder," Victor lied, his voice steady. "She improved Arthur's work. We didn't just crash Triton by luck. We used a new version of the God code. It's on this laptop." Selina looked at Victor, shocked. She started to protest, but Victor squeezed her hand hard, silencing her. "Show me," Prescott commanded. Victor opened the laptop. He typed a command. A complex 3D visualization of the global market appeared on the screen. It was mesmerizing. "This controls the flow," Victor said. "With this, you don't just predict the crash. You cause it. Anywhere. Anytime." Prescott's eyes glittered with greed. He reached for the laptop. "Release Arthur first," Victor said. Prescott nodded to the guards. One of them cut Arthur's zip ties. The old man slumped forward, and Selina rushed to catch him, hugging him fiercely. "Now," Prescott said, extending his hand. "The laptop." Victor slid the computer across the table. Prescott grabbed it, his eyes scanning the code. "Magnificent," he whispered. "With this, the consortium will be gods." "There's just one catch," Victor said, taking a step back toward Selina and Arthur. "Oh." Prescott didn't look up. "That's not a trading algorithm," Victor said. "It's a broadcast beacon." Prescott froze. "What? I didn't log into your system," Victor said, a smirk touching his lips. "I logged into the Securities and Exchange Commission's public whistleblower portal, and the New York Times tip line, and the FBI Cybercrimes Division." Victor held up his phone. "That laptop is currently live streaming your face, this room, and your confession to about 10,000 people. You're trending on Twitter, Prescott." Prescott's face went pale. He looked at the laptop webcam, the green light staring back at him unblinkingly. You idiot!" Prescott screamed. "You've destroyed the market. If they see this, the market will survive," Victor said. "You won't." Sirens began to wail in the distance. Not just one or two, but a symphony of them. The police, the feds, everyone was coming. "Kill them!" Prescott shrieked at his guards. But the guards looked at the laptop, then at the door. They weren't paid enough to kill people on a live FBI feed. They dropped their weapons and ran for the back exit. "It's over, Prescott," Arthur Pendleton said, his voice gaining strength. "The math always balances out in the end." Victor grabbed Selina and Arthur. "Run!" They bolted for the service entrance as Prescott stood amidst his servers, frantically trying to smash the laptop. But it was too late. The signal was out. They burst out into the alleyway, just as the first SWAT armored truck screeched around the corner. "Get in!" Graves yelled, throwing the back door of the Escalade open. As they peeled away, Victor looked back. He saw federal agents swarming the building. Selina was holding her father, tears streaming down her face. "You did it," she sobbed. "You saved him." Victor slumped back in the seat, exhausted. He checked his phone. His bank account notification popped up. "Account balance, $0. I had to transfer the Triton money to the SEC as evidence to buy us immunity," Victor said, staring at the zero. I'm broke. I'm actually broke. He expected to feel panic. He expected to feel the crushing weight of poverty he had feared his whole life. Instead, he looked at Selina, who was looking at him with a mixture of awe and something softer. He looked at Arthur, a man who had survived hell. Victor laughed. It was a genuine, loud laugh. I'm broke, he said again, and I've never felt richer. 3 months later, a small diner in New Jersey. The sign outside read, Pendleton and Partners. It wasn't a hedge fund. It was a pancake house. But in the back, in a private booth, 3 people were looking at a laptop. Okay, Arthur said, adjusting his glasses. The math on this soybean futures contract is slightly off. I'll fix the algo, Selina said, typing while pouring coffee for a customer. Victor Calloway walked out of the kitchen, wearing an apron that said Grill Master. He placed a stack of pancakes on the table. Order up, he said. He wasn't a billionaire anymore. The scandal had wiped out Calloway Capital. He was barred from trading on the NYSE for 5 years. But he had enough stash left to buy this diner. Selina looked up at him. Hey boss, we have a problem. What is it, we out of syrup? No. Selina smiled, turning the laptop screen to him. We just made 400% returns on that crypto swing trade we set up last night. The diner's retirement fund is now worth $3 million. Victor grinned, wiping his hands on his apron. Let it ride, Victor said. I've got tables to wait. He walked back into the bustle of the diner, whistling. He had lost his empire, but he had found his team. And in the end, that was the only trade that really mattered. And that is how Victor Calloway went from a billionaire wolf to a pancake-flipping legend. He lost the money, but he gained a soul, and arguably the smartest trading team on the planet. If you enjoyed this roller coaster of greed, revenge, and redemption, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm more than Selina's code. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. Comment below. Would you have given up the billions to save the girl? I'll see you in the next video.